Let's recap the previous part. Upon our planetary sphere, the lifespan continued to shorten due to distortions of the intelligent energy streamings into the planetary sphere, caused by the thought form distortions of peoples. Blockages of an entity further unbalance this energy, thus the body complex decomposing rapidly. The third density being, having the potential for complete self-awareness, thus has the potential for the minimal activation of all energy centers. When any entity comes into third density incarnation, each of its energy centers is potentiated but must be activated by the self using experience. These energy centers are in potential, in macrocosm from the beginning of creation by the Logos. Coming out of timelessness, all is prepared. This is so of the infinite creation. The origin of all energy is the action of free will upon love. The nature of all energy is light. The means of its ingress into the mind-body-spirit complex is duple. Firstly, there is the inner light which is Polaris, the guiding star of the self. This is the birthright and true nature of all entities. This energy dwells within. The second point of ingress is the polar opposite of the North Star, where the south magnetic pole of an entity draws the universal energy into itself from the cosmos, and may be seen, if you wish to use the physical body as an analog for the magnetic field, as coming through the feet from the earth and through the lower point of the spine. This point of ingress of the universal light energy is undifferentiated until it begins its filtering process through the energy centers. Therefrom, it will move upward to be met and reacted to by the positive spiraling energy moving downward from within. The measure of an entity's level of ray activity is the locus wherein the South Pole outer energy has been met by the inner spiraling positive energy. The nature of the use of these in-streamings is determined by the requirements of each center and the efficiency with which the individual has learned to tap into the inner light. As an entity grows and becomes more polarized, this locus will move upwards. This phenomenon has been called the Kundalini, depicted as a coiled serpent at the base of the spine. However, it may better be thought of as the meeting place of cosmic and inner, shall we say, vibratory understanding. To attempt to raise the locus of this meeting, without realizing the metaphysical principles of magnetism upon which this depends, is to invite great imbalance. The south or negative pole is one which attracts. It pulls unto itself those things magnetized to it. So, with the mind-body-spirit complex, the inflow of experience is of the South Pole influx. You may consider this a simplistic statement. The red ray or foundation energy center, being the lowest or root energy center of the physical vehicle, will have the first opportunity to react to any experience. In this way only, you may see a physical locus of the South Pole being identified with the root energy center. In every facet of mind and body, the root or foundation will be given the opportunity to function first. What is this opportunity but survival? This is the root possibility of response and may be found to be characteristic of the basic functions of both mind and body. You will find this instinct the strongest, and once this is balanced, much is open to the seeker. The South Pole then ceases blocking the experiential data, and higher energy centers of mind and body become availed of the opportunity to use the experience drawn to it. This ray may be understood to be the basic strengthening ray complex for each density. It shall never be condescended to as less important or productive of spiritual evolution, for it is the foundation and the first primary center. The orange ray is a basic ray complex. It is the movement towards the yellow ray complex, which is the ray of self-awareness and interaction. The orange ray is that influence or vibratory pattern wherein the mind-body-spirit expresses its power on an individual basis. Thus, power over individuals may be seen to be orange ray. This ray has been quite intense among our peoples on an individual basis. You may see in this ray the treating of other selves as non-entities, slaves, or chattel, thus giving other selves no status whatsoever. The primary rays signify activity of a primary nature. The basic rays are the movement to the next primary ray. The next foundation ray is yellow. The yellow ray is a focal and very powerful ray complex and concerns the entity in relation to, shall we say, groups, societies, or large numbers of mind-body-spirit complexes. This yellow ray vibration is at the heart of bellicose actions in which one group of entities feel the necessity and right of dominating other groups of entities and bending their wills to the wills of the masters. The negative path, as we would call it, uses a combination of the yellow ray and the orange ray in its polarization patterns. These rays, used in a dedicated fashion, will bring about a contact with intelligent infinity. This is the great stepping stone ray complex, at which the mind-body potentiates to its fullest balance. The strong red, orange, and yellow ray triad springboards the entity into the green ray center. Again, this is a basic ray complex, but not a primary. This is the resource for spiritual work. When the green ray has been activated, we find the third primary ray complex being able to begin potentiation. Once the green ray has been achieved, the ability of the entity to enter blue ray is immediate and is only awaiting the efforts of the individual. Green ray is the movement through various experiences of energy exchanges, having to do with all-forgiving love and compassion, to the primary blue ray, which is the first ray of radiation of self, regardless of any actions from another. This is the first true spiritual ray complex, for all transfers are of an integrated mind-body-spirit nature. The blue ray seats the learning teachings of the spirit in each density within the mind-body complex, animating the whole, communicating to others this entirety of beingness. The green ray entity is ineffectual in the face of blockage from other selves. The blue ray entity is a co-creator. This may perhaps simply be a restatement of previous activity, but if you consider the function of the logos as representative of the infinite creator, in effectuating the knowing of the creator by the creator, you may perhaps see the steps by which this may be accomplished. The indigo ray is opened only through considerable discipline and practice, largely having to do with acceptance of self, not only as the polarized and balanced self, but as the creator, as an entity of infinite worth. This will begin to activate the indigo ray. The indigo ray complex, though precious, is that ray worked upon only by the adept, as we would call it. It is the gateway to intelligent infinity, bringing intelligent energy through. This is the energy center worked upon in those teachings considered inner, hidden, and occult, for this ray is that which is infinite in its possibilities. As you are aware, those who heal, teach, and work for the Creator in any way which may be seen to be both radiant and balanced are those activities which are indigo ray. As you are aware, the violet ray is constant and does not figure into a discussion of the functions of ray activation, in that it is the mark, the register, the identity, the true vibration of an entity. The nature of the balancing and evolutionary process is subtle. The mind complex has a relationship to the spirit and body complexes which is not fixed. Thus blockages may occur between spirit and mind, or body and mind, upon many different levels. Each energy center has 7 subcolors, let us say, for convenience. Thus, spiritual mental blockages combined with mental bodily blockages may affect each of the energy centers in several different ways. While it is a primary priority to activate or unblock each energy center, it is also a primary priority at that point to begin to refine the balances between the energies so that each tone of the chord of total vibratory beingness resonates in clarity, tune, and harmony with each other energy. This balancing, tuning, and harmonizing of the self is most central to the more advanced or adept mind-body-spirit complex. Each energy may be activated without the beauty that is possible through the disciplines and appreciations of personal energies, or what we might call the deeper personality, or soul identity. In the first 3 energy centers, a full unblocking of this energy will create speeds of rotation. As the entity develops the higher energy centers, however, these centers will then begin to express their nature, by forming crystal structures. This is the higher or more balanced form of activation of energy centers, as the space-time nature of this energy is transmuted to the time-space nature of regularization and balancing. Each of the energy centers of the physical complex may be seen to have a distinctive crystalline structure in the more developed entity. Each will be somewhat different, just as in our world no two snowflakes are alike. However, each is regular. The red energy center often is in the shape of the spoked wheel. The orange energy center is in the flower shape, containing 3 petals. The yellow center is again in a rounded shape, many-faceted as a star. The green energy center is sometimes called the lotus shape, the number of points of crystalline structure dependent upon the strength of this center. The blue energy center is capable of having perhaps 100 facets and capable of great flashing brilliance. The indigo center is a more quiet center which has the basic triangular or 3-petaled shape in many, although some adepts who have balanced the lower energies may create more faceted forms. The violet energy center is the least variable and is sometimes described in our philosophy as 1,000-petaled, as it is the sum of the mind-body-spirit complex distortion totality. Each energy center has a wide range of rotational speed, or as you may see it more clearly in relation to color, brilliance. The more strongly the will of the entity concentrates upon and refines or purifies each energy center, the more brilliant or rotationally active each energy center will be. It is not necessary for the energy centers to be activated in order in the case of the self-aware entity. Thusly, entities may have extremely brilliant energy centers while being quite unbalanced in their violet ray aspect due to lack of attention paid to the totality of experience of the entity. The key to balance may then be seen in the unstudied, spontaneous, and honest response of entities toward experiences, thus using experience to the utmost, then applying the balancing exercises and achieving the proper attitude for the most purified spectrum of energy center manifestation in violet ray. This is why the brilliance or rotational speed of the energy centers is not considered above the balanced aspect or violet ray manifestation of an entity in regarding harvestability. For those entities which are unbalanced, especially as to the primary rays, will not be capable of sustaining the impact of the love and light of intelligent infinity to the extent necessary for harvest. The metaphor of the coiled serpent being called upwards is vastly appropriate for consideration by our peoples. This is what we are attempting when we seek. There are, as we have stated, great misapprehensions concerning this metaphor and the nature of pursuing its goal. We must generalize and ask that you grasp the fact that this in effect renders far less useful that which we share. However, as each entity is unique, generalities are our lot when communicating for your possible edification. We have 2 types of energy. We are attempting then, as entities in any true color of this octave, to move the meeting place of inner and outer natures further and further along or upward along the energy centers. The 2 methods of approaching this with a sensible method are first, the seating within oneself of those experiences which are attracted to the entity through the South Pole. Each experience will need to be observed, experienced, balanced, accepted, and seated within the individual. As the entity grows in self-acceptance and awareness of the catalyst, the location of the comfortable seating of these experiences will rise to the new true color entity. The experience, whatever it may be, will be seated in red ray and considered as to its survival content, and so forth. Each experience will be sequentially understood by the growing and seeking mind-body-spirit complex in terms of survival, then in terms of personal identity, then in terms of social relations, then in terms of universal love, then in terms of how the experience may beget free communication, then in terms of how the experience may be linked to universal energies, and finally in terms of the sacramental nature of each experience. Meanwhile, the Creator lies within. In the North Pole, the crown is already upon the head, and the entity is potentially a god. This energy is brought into being by the humble and trusting acceptance of this energy through meditation and contemplation of the self, and of the Creator. Where these energies meet is where the serpent will have achieved its height. When this uncoiled energy approaches universal love and radiant being, the entity is in a state whereby the harvestability of the entity comes nigh. As we have noted, each of the true color densities has the 7 energy centers, and each entity contains all this in potentiation. The activation of violet ray intelligent infinity, while in the yellow ray complex, is a passport to the next experience of octave. There are adepts who have penetrated many of the energy centers and several of the true colors. This must be done with utmost care, while in the physical body, for as we noted when speaking of the dangers of linking red, orange, and yellow circuitry with true color blue circuitry, the potential for disarrangement of the mind-body-spirit complex is great. However, the entity who penetrates intelligent infinity is basically capable of walking the universe with unfettered tread.